Hi friends, welcome to Naresh IT. My name is Nataraj. In this video, I am going to talk quite important discussion of servlets. That is, what is default servlet? The servlet that executes automatically the moment we give request to web application is called as what? Default servlet. Though we have not configured that servlet as what? Welcome file. Okay, but when we give request to web application, automatically that executes. That servlet is called as what? Default servlet. How a normal servlet becomes what? Default servlet. A normal servlet becomes default servlet when it is configured with slash URL pattern. Is a special URL pattern. If any servlet component URL pattern is slash, it is called as what? Default servlet. We give one request URL to web application. Matching to that request URL, let us assume no web component is there in that web application. At that time, if servlet is having slash URL pattern, that acts as a default servlet and executes automatically, even though that servlet is not configured as what? Welcome file. So let's take one small sample code of web.xml, how to make an ordinary servlet as what? Default servlet. So in web.xml, let us assume I am taking one servlet configuration. Servlet. Under this I am writing what? Servlet-name, welcome, servlet-name. Then I am also writing what? Servlet-class, some package com.nt.servlet. Welcome servlet. What servlet here? Welcome servlet. Servlet-class. Then we got servlet end. Then we got servlet-mapping. Servlet-what? Mapping. Copy this, paste it. Yeah, here I am taking URL-pattern slash, what is this? End of what? Servlet-mapping. So this is the normal servlet here, but configured with what URL pattern? Slash. Such a servlet is called as what? Default servlet. Whenever you give request to servlet, if no matching component is there for that URL, automatically default servlet takes a request and executes it. If no welcome file is configured and you want to see one or other web component should execute for any request URL, though it is wrong one or right one, so then we have to take what? Default servlet. What servlet here? Default servlet. Let's go to one small demonstration here. Here I am not configuring any welcome files. Number one, I have a welcome servlet, use URL pattern is what? Slash. Look at this. Welcome servlet whose URL pattern is servlet. That means I made welcome servlet as default servlet. Nice. Remaining all servlets are having their own URL pattern. HTML servlet is having slash HTURL as the URL pattern. XML servlet is having slash XML URL as its URL pattern. Word servlet is having slash WD URL as its URL pattern. Don't worry about what is HTML servlet, word servlet. These are what? Normal 4 servlet components. Some servlets here. And Excel servlet is having XLS URL as the URL pattern. Welcome servlet is having slash. And there is no welcome file configuration. Let's run our application. Run on server. Say next. Say finish. Say OK. See, home page 5, welcome servlet. That means welcome servlet is automatically executed or not. Very interesting thing is, I will try to give one wrong URL. Is there any servlet having URL pattern ABC? No. I am pressing enter key. Still, default servlet is executed. That means when you give request to web application without specifying component name or virtual path of what? Web component, URL pattern of web component, then default servlet executes. Okay, if you specify wrong virtual path, wrong URL pattern, then also what? Default servlet executes. In what way it is useful, sir? Very simple. Irrespective of right URL or wrong URL that is given to web application, okay, I want to see one page getting executed, one page visible to end user, one page appearing to end user, then better to configure one default servlet for web application. Sometimes what happens, we get the URL and we paste it. Based on the content of URL, there may not be any web component in our web application. But still I don't want to show 404 error, 405 error or some other error. I just want to show one default page. And at that situation, default servlet is very useful. See, I am giving request without specifying virtual path. That means component related information. Yes, default servlet is executing. I am giving a wrong one. Default. I am giving correct one, WD URL. Then word servlet related execution is happening. I am giving what? HT URL. HTML servlet is coming. I am giving wrong URL. Earlier, when I give wrong URL, I used to get what? 404 error. But this time it is not coming. Then you may ask me one question. What is the difference between welcome page and default servlet? Welcome page is if no virtual path is mentioned and that page will execute as what? First page of the web application. Default servlet is not only executes as what? First page when no URL is given, no virtual path is given in the URL. Even though you give wrong URL, even though you give what? Wrong URL, okay, that will execute as a default component in the web application. Let me show this one practically. So let me go for welcome servlet, welcome file and default servlet. Now I want to talk the difference between welcome servlet configuration or welcome file configuration with in support to default servlet. So shall we analyze that one now? Come here. This is not a regular discussion, it's a different discussion. Now, I have not configured any default servlet. I am taking one URL called what? Welcome URL. What URL here? Welcome URL. That means right now in this web application there is no default servlet. Nice. But I am coming to welcome file list. Please refer one video. I talked exclusive about welcome files in other video. If you look at previous video, there I have given exclusive knowledge about what? Welcome files. Lot of knowledge I have given about welcome files. Now I am configuring the above welcome servlet as the welcome servlet, as a welcome file. Point number one, welcome servlet is not a default servlet of web application. Number one. Point number two, right now it is configured with URL pattern and it is also made as what? Welcome file. Save it. Right click, run on server. Say next, save finish, say OK. Now definitely welcome servlet execute because it is configured as a welcome file. But you give wrong URL here, you will get 404 error. When it comes to default servlet, what happened? Even though you have given wrong URL, default servlet is executed. So the common point between welcome servlet and default servlet is what? I mean, the welcome file based servlet and what? Default servlet is what? Default servlet executes when you give initial request to web application without specifying virtual path of any component. Welcome servlet also will execute in the same angle. Servlet configured as welcome file also will do the same thing. But what is the difference there? If we give wrong URL, okay, default servlet executes. If we give wrong URL, that means wrong virtual path in the URL, okay, what is not executing here? Okay, welcome servlet is not executing. This is the difference. I repeat. When you give request to web application that is having default servlet, that executes even though you don't mention virtual path of the web component. Also execute when you mention wrong virtual path. What is that? Wrong virtual path. If you give request to web application that is having what? Welcome servlet. That is having welcome servlet. That means servlet has welcome file. That executes when you give request without specifying virtual path of the component. When you give wrong virtual path, you will get 404 error. What error here? 404 error. So I will list over here. Welcome servlet as default servlet. This is the URL. Local host. What is the port number? Some port number 2020. MIMEAPP / MIMEAPP. I typed URL up to this. Then tell me default servlet executes. Next, wrong URL. This is actually wrong URL. Invalid URL. What is this? Default servlet executes. Yes, no? Right. Right URL. Valid URL. Welcome URL. Not welcome URL, some other one. HT URL. This is valid URL. Yes. What executes? That URL based web component executes. Right. Now I will take welcome servlet as what? Welcome file. Welcome servlet as welcome file. Welcome servlet as welcome file. Nice. Copy this, paste it. I am giving up to context path of the web application. I am not giving virtual path. This is technically called virtual path. I am not giving any virtual path. Then tell me welcome file, nothing but welcome servlet executes. Next, I am giving invalid URL. Welcome servlet will not execute. Welcome file does not execute. Next, I am giving valid URL. Same. That URL based web component executes. That URL based web component executes. I hope you got a clarity there. So what is the difference between default servlet and servlet configured as welcome file? Both will execute, okay, if we give request up to context path based URL. That means this one, both will respond. But when you give invalid URL, default servlet still executes. So when you give invalid URL, you will get 404 error. What error here? 404 error. This is the major difference between what? Default servlet. Sir, when should I configure servlet as default servlet? Even though right URL is given, wrong URL is given, URL, okay, you give URL up to what? Web application name, I mean to say context path. You want to execute one or other component, then go for what? Default servlet. No, you want to see only servlet as home page, not as what? Default page. See the name? Home page, only first page. I don't want to see as a default page if some other page fails to launch. That time you go for what? Welcome page. Default page means if any page, any component fails to execute, this will come into picture. Welcome page means only as the first page, it is not there to respond for other pages. It is really not there to respond for what? Other pages. So now the question that rises in your mind is, in a web application, if I take default servlet and welcome file based servlet, which will get the priority? Let's try this one. What's the question now? If I take both default servlet and servlet as welcome file, two different things I am taking. I made welcome servlet as what? Default servlet. I hope you are with me. And I made HTURL, it means HTML servlet as what? HTML servlet as what? Welcome file based servlet. That means servlet as welcome file. Who will get the priority? Let's see now. Run and server. Say next. Say finish. Say OK. Say finish. So it's giving priority to welcome file. You give wrong URL. Then welcome file is coming to picture. Then who is coming into picture? Welcome file. So if we give up to context path of the web application in the URL, welcome file. Servlet acting as a welcome file. You give wrong URL, come on, default servlet. So both functionalities are happening. But when you type up to context path of the web application, if you don't type any virtual path, okay, who gets the higher priority? Welcome file based servlet gets the higher priority. No one observes discussion in this angle, but interviewer may raise the question if he is aware of what is default servlet. So that's why I am doing all these experiments in front of you people. I am giving practical demonstration to you people. So if clash comes between welcome file and what? Default servlet. So welcome file based servlet gets the priority as what? Welcome page. But when it gives invalid URL, welcome page has no role. That's why default servlet executes. Nice. So now another question. This time I will get the clash between default servlet and non-servlet based welcome page. I have first.jsp acting as a welcome page. I have this time servlet is not taken as what? Welcome file. One JSP component is taken as what? Welcome page. Right click, run on server, say next, say finish, say OK. Who is getting? Same model. Welcome page is getting what? Higher priority. Home page. You give wrong URL, default servlet. If this welcome file is not there, right click, run on server, say next, say finish, say OK. If this welcome file is not there, then welcome servlet itself acting as what? Welcome page. I mean to say default servlet itself acting as what? Welcome page. If clash is there with welcome page gets the higher priority. So that means default servlet responds for wrong URL, also responds for what? Okay, when you give URL up to what? Context path of the web application. But make sure that time welcome file is not there, then only default servlet will act as what? Welcome file. Otherwise, regular welcome file executes and it will come into picture only when what? Wrong URL is given. What is the real-time use case of default servlet? If I give request to a website, anytime with wrong URL also, I want to get one message. You have given wrong URL, correct yourself. Or some problem, correct yourself. Instead of giving 404, 405, because end users are non-technical people. They are civil engineer, chemical engineer, school going boys, office going what? People, they are not at all technical. They just know what is keyboard and mouse. If you put them 404, 405, 401, this kind of numbers in front of them, they will afraid it. So I want to give proper non-technical guiding message to those people. At that time, any wrong URL, you display the message through what? Default servlet, saying that, oops, you have given wrong URL, check out. Oops, you have given wrong URL, go for what? Give one hyperlink, he will go to home page, and from home page he will navigate nicely. So that's why a very important discussion is what? Default servlet. Because in other video I talked about welcome file. Now I am talking about default servlet. So general use case of default servlet is, while visiting website, if any wrong URL, invalid URL comes, okay, if any web component is all of a sudden not working, instead of showing technical messages on the browser and confusing end user, better to generate non-technical guiding message to end user by the support of what? Default servlet. I hope you benefited with this, right. For example, you take flipkart.com. Take flipkart.com. In the copy paste process of URL, something gone wrong. Instead of saying 404, better to say, oops, you have given what? Wrong URL. Please try with another URL. If possible, provide one hyperlink to begin the navigation. Especially sometimes we don't navigate from home page here. We gather URL from WhatsApp groups or other groups and we paste it. Okay. In that process, one or the letter may go here and there. In that situation also, I don't want to see technical error messages coming to end user. So that time default servlet is very useful. But the problem is there are so many people who does not recognize the terminology called what? Default servlet. Yes, there is a terminology called default servlet. It's a pretty ordinary servlet, okay, but because of its special URL pattern / it has become what? Default servlet. I hope you benefited with this video, okay. You can catch me for more videos in coming classes.